We've got quite the display of hollyhocks in the garden right now, so I thought I would take this opportunity to put together a video discussing some suggestions or pointers on how you too can grow some hollyhocks in your own garden successfully.
Hollyhocks are a great way to add some amazing impact to your garden or landscape, all from just a packet of seeds. You can just cover them with a bit of soil, or a 1/4 inch of soil if you want to be more specific. Keep the soil continually moist, but not waterlogged, until germination. The seeds will normally sprout within 10 to 14 days. It's always good to provide hollyhocks with loose, moist, rich garden soil. If you plant them in dense soil, your plants may struggle or die. Our hollyhocks have full sun, but hollyhocks can be fine with a little partial shade. Keep in mind, the less sun you get, the smaller the plant and the fewer blooms you'll likely get. Plant your seeds after the last frost of the season. But keep in mind, you have some time to plant your seeds since they may or may not even bloom the first year anyhow. So it's not urgent to get them going right away. But trust me, when they do start blooming, you will be glad you planted them and patiently waited. During the first year, you might get a lot of greenery growth and maybe some flowering. Then, once they're established in the second year, they will bloom like nobody's business. Locally in New Mexico, it was the second year in early May that the hollyhocks started blooming, with the flowers beginning to bloom starting from the bottom of the stalk upwards. Hollyhocks can grow to heights of 6 to 8 feet, or even taller in some locations, so give them plenty of room. We have planted them directly in a metal garden bed, which worked out well for the plants, but they do tend to scale up larger than you might expect in not only height, but also girth. That means they can take over an entire section of valuable garden bed space. If you plant them directly in the ground, as most people actually do, that will give them plenty of space above and below ground to expand. If you have a large open space in your garden, this is a good way to fill in those areas. If you don't have naturally loose, rich garden soil, you can dig out an area and replace it with bagged garden soil, or at least a mix of native and bagged soil. I've found mixing cow manure into the soil or garden soil is also a good, inexpensive way to fertilize and increase the soil composition at the same time. Hollyhocks are good with growing zones 3 to 8, so the hottest planting areas might have some trouble with these. In that case, try planting them in a location that gets partial shade during the hottest part of the afternoon, and see if that allows them to thrive in your area. If you want to collect seeds for next year, you can just let these flowers go to seed, or remove the spent flowers if you want to avoid hollyhocks taking over with reseeding. While your hollyhocks might only last 2 to 3 years, if you're continually planting new seeds or allowing them to reseed, you should be rewarded with hollyhocks every year going forward. We haven't had any serious issues with pests or diseases with hollyhocks in our area. We don't use pesticides or chemicals in the garden other than fertilizer occasionally. We just try to grow plants that are resistant to all of these things to begin with in our own climate. Some people can have problems with rust on the lower leaves. Like many plants, you can water the bottom of the plant to avoid disease issues that are caused or encouraged by wet leaves. Like many flowers, if you have temperature extremes, your flowers will perform as annuals and will need to be replanted each year. Just make sure you purchase seeds for plants that specifically say they bloom the first year. If they are able to survive into the second year in your area, they are grown as perennials. In those instances, if you experience harsh winters, you just need to cut them back to 6 to 8 inches tall before winter and cover with mulch, compost, wood chips, or straw as a protection from the winter cold. So, while they are perennials, they might only make it through a lifespan of 2 to 3 years. These aren't going to be permanent fixtures. But there are ways to make sure your hollyhocks do keep coming back each year, either from reseeding or replanting new seeds each year. One bonus with hollyhocks is that they will attract pollinators, butterflies, and hummingbirds to your garden. If you grow vegetables as well, it's a good way to get those pollinators in the garden, and hopefully they'll also stop by your vegetable flowers and pollinate them. This will encourage abundant vegetable harvests. And by the way, we do have a full inventory and large selection of hollyhock seeds, and many other flowers and vegetable seeds in the Ailey Acres Seed Shop. Thanks for stopping by.